Tubers, two bats, and of course, crazy people. This video is going to be a bit of a twofer. I'm going to touch on two subjects. One, how much do I think is enough to have as a safety net as far as money, a buffer that you should have set aside? And number two, should you or should you not support your significant other's family? So this has been inspired by real time true events that have happened to me this month. And it has not been what you would call a good month, but I want to explain to you what happened and how we're dealing with it and how both those topics, a safety net and supporting my significant other's family, plays into it, and hopefully it might help you. Okay, here comes my little video. All right, so in this video, what I want to try to do is make it sort of a 2-for-1 and do it within 15 minutes. If you got 15 minutes, so do I. My wife and I have had quite the week so far this week, but hey, there's probably lessons to be learned here. Number one is an emergency fund. How much should a person have set aside for an emergency fund? And then the other topic that I kind of want to brush upon is supporting the extended family of your significant other. Is that something that you should do or not do? Well, my humble opinion is that, of course, is an individual's decision to make. I'm not here to tell you what to do one way or the other. The only way I know how to relate in these videos is by telling you what I do, and then you can take that information and disseminate it any way that you want and say, yeah, that makes sense, or no, it doesn't, or somewhere in between. So the standard sort of safety net that's been preached for years by certain financial folks that you see on TV and now the internet has been a good safety net in America, anywhere that you're living, just as a rule of thumb, is approximately 6 months to a year's worth of salary, if you can be so disciplined and set that aside. In the event, what they're thinking is that you lose your job and you have to go out searching. Can you maintain the mortgage, the car payment, the insurance, and all the other things that you've got going on? I think until you find another job. I think that is a good rule of thumb to follow over here, and it's one that I came equipped with 7 years ago. I had an idea of how much money I was going to spend a month, and I made sure I had a little more than 6 months worth in the bank, so to say. And so that has worked for me so far. I have been fortunate in that I have been able to add to that kitty, if you want to call it that, month in and month out for the last 7 years, and it's just been a habit that I've enjoyed doing. Now, how much is enough? So I said 6 months. Does that include emergencies? I would think so. I felt that if I spend $2,000 a month and I have 12,000, that's 6 months worth of money in the bank, and I got into a motorcycle accident or I came down ill, I think that's a fairly, just from what I've observed, if I was to have not a life-threatening injury, but something that would lay me up for a week or two, that would be enough to cover it and still have some money left over. And then as the months and the years progressed, trying my best to replenish that. As I said, I've been super fortunate in the fact that I've never really had to dip into that. But interestingly enough, as we talk about, I'm going to move now into supporting the family. The only time I got close to dipping into that was when I had my first girlfriend, 6 years ago or whatever it was. We were together for 3 or 4 months, and she turned out to be the proverbial black hole. It just didn't seem like, no matter how much, even though she assured me when we met that she had 2 grown daughters. She was, I think, 38 or 39 years old, and she had 20 and 21-year-old daughters. She said, they're in college, they don't need us anymore or me anymore. We've got them over the hump. Well, guess what? It didn't take long, maybe a month, for her to have a need or a this or a that for one of her kids. Her brother wanted to start a business. She had all these ideas. If I gave her money one day and said that needed to last for a week, it wouldn't last for 5 hours if I cut her loose. It was just history. So I knew early on that this woman, as fun as she was and as nice as she was, as pretty as she was, she came with this luggage that I wasn't willing to tote around. And she would eventually have drugged me down, literally into bankruptcy, if I had just not learned to say no. And finally I just said, like I said, over a number of months, I said, this just isn't going to work. Because month in and month out, I keep preaching to you, okay, I'll do it this one time, but that's it. And she would always agree. And sure enough, there would be like a mushroom popping up. There would be another emergency, another need, another want, another desire. And I said, you know what? This is my turn. I'm retired. I shouldn't have financial stress because I'm a lady. So her and I parted ways. And I remained single for a couple of years till I bumped into May. And we became the little item that we are today. My wife has never once approached me as a girlfriend early on or as a wife 2 years later after being married almost 2 years, for money, for her family. Why is that? Well, number one, she was earning money when I met her. She worked as a caterer. And then soon after we got together, I forget the time frame, say 6 or 7 months, she actually started her own little YouTube channel and started to make more money on the YouTube than she did on the catering. And so she said, well, the hell with that, I'll just do this. And so for the last 6 years that we've been together, she has religiously been parking that money that comes in from YouTube. And it's not a fortune, believe me. But she's been parking it religiously in her little account that we opened up 4 years and years and years ago. My money that comes in from YouTube and Social Security, a piece of that also, has been doing the same thing for 7 years, just been pumping in there. So the family thing, should I help her family? May has taken upon herself, she told me early on in our relationship, when there was a tragedy of some sort, one of her sister's husbands died, and she sent her last 30,000 pesos that she had. And I said, why didn't you come to me about this? And she said, it's not your family, so it's not your problem. That was her attitude. And that was really kind of one of the deal closers with me as far as any kind of distrust or misgivings that I might have had with her moving forward. I knew that money was not going to be an issue with this woman. Well, recently, for the last 6 months, and again, kind of under the radar, I've always treated, and May's always treated her little YouTube channel bank account as her money. Even though we're married, and technically it's our money. That's sort of always been hers. I've never put any strings to that. I've never said you got to check with me. If you want to spend it, girl, go spend it. You made it, have fun. I knew that she was a saver anyway, just from the day that I met her. Recently, I found out that she had been taking money out almost every month, pretty consistently, and has been helping her mother and her father because both of them have been ill. I have never once ponied up and given her or them or anybody else in her family what we call an allowance. Here's the one time that I think that giving a family member outside of the relationship an allowance is okay. I'll just use me as an example. If May and I, like I said, she was working when we met. It was her decision to do a career change, basically, go from catering into YouTube. However, if she had said to me, you know what, out of my catering money, I give my parents X amount of pesos. Let's just call it 5,000 pesos a month. but I would like to stay here with you full time. Are you okay giving them 5,000 pesos per month to replace mine so that you and I can be together and I can take care of you? Well, that would be a decision or a trigger for me to pull at that time what I felt my budget could allow. If I did say yes, I can promise you it would never have exceeded that 5,000. It would have been a deal between me and her, and I would have felt that the juice was worth the squeeze. In other words, to not have her go stand on her feet for 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. There would have been some empathy and sympathy towards that. Plus me being selfish and wanting to have someone with me at all times without having to drop them off and pick them up and this and that and have them one day with them. That I can dig. That is the only time that I think that would work and is fair and equitable. But just because May met me and my financial condition was stronger than hers doesn't mean that I'm suddenly, in my mind, doesn't mean that I'm suddenly obligated to give her parents 1 peso or 10,000 pesos, or pick a number, per month. Why? I mean, what were they doing before I came along? How did they get by and live for so long without me? Why should that dynamic change? I have, just for the record, every time I have seen her parents, I have tried to bless them each with some money. And what's kind of funny is I can't give it all to just one, like her father, because he would never give it to the mother, and vice versa. So May warned me about that. She goes, hey, if you're going to give them some money, which I'd tell her, and she'd say, give one this much and give the other one the same amount. And it would be like, just from me to you, I love you guys. Here, go treat yourself to something. Anyway, this month, unfortunately, May's mother took ill. May has been supporting her medicine, food, diet, some doctor visits out of her own money, and really kind of keeping it under the radar with me. I had no idea how sick her mother was getting. And she passed away about a week ago. So May said to me, after that happened and kind of got over the shock of it, and she was taken off out the door to go with her sister to make the arrangements, she said, could you take me to BDO, that's her bank. I need to get money for my mom's funeral. And I said, no. I said, I have money for that. That's on me. That's where I feel there is credibility, and there's something that I want to do. It's over and above the normal day-to-day thing. It's my act of love or act of kindness, or it's just something that in my heart I want to do. I know that the family does not have the money to pay for it all at once. Not her eldest sister, but one of her sisters works as a manager at an entity out here in Dumaguete and makes a total of, are you ready? 10,000 pesos per month. That's $225, $230 a month. And she's working those 6 days, 12 hours. She's a manager. She has a little status. They move her around and they work her like a rented mule. But that being said, I didn't want, and she's the high earner in the group. So I said, you know what? All things being equal, fortunately, because remember I said I've been parking away this money all this time. Well, I got well past that 6-month mark of having to, if everything came to a grinding halt, and I just had to survive here, I could go well past 6 months, fortunately. That's not a brag, it's just a fact. It's just that I've been diligent and disciplined and been saving my money. We don't live a highfalutin lifestyle. We do a budget video every 6 months. We're due to do one, but I think this is going to supersede that. We'll do one in the future. But here's the interesting thing, is that my budget has been getting overworked for the last 3 months, and it's all been selective with the exception of this death in the family. Today I went down and I got 50,000 pesos. That is to pay for a surgery that I'm going to do this next week. In 3 or 4 days, I'll be in Cebu to fix this eye bag problem and lift up. And that's approximately what the doctor is going to charge me. Now, I already had this set aside. I had moved extra money over because I knew a month ago that this was going to happen. And this was elective. This is something that I wanted to do. It's not an emergency, it's an expenditure. I have needs and I have wants, and I felt that this fell into the need category because it's going to help me with my vision. These lower lids cannot support tears, and this has to be pulled up so that they can. And also cosmetically, it'll help the look on my face. I could use a lot more than that. Anyway, I felt that that was a fair example. I had spent the 50K that I set aside for the eyes. That's going to come up in the next 3 or 4 days. We're going to fly to Cebu so far on the funeral, paying for the casket, paying for the flowers, paying for whatever I paid for. I don't know. And there may be more to come, and that's fine with me. So there is my spin on having a savings account and having a safety net. I think if you come over here with $1,000 in the bank and X amount of dollars per month, you're really setting yourself up. You better be lucky, or you better be a good saver, and because that ain't gonna get it. Take whatever you're gonna spend per month, in my mind. Again, you do what you want, but slow down, relax, take your time, make decisions on logic, not emotions. To end it on a low note. I must have if I've had this conversation once, I've had it 50 times. I just got an email from a guy, came over here. It's kind of a disjointed email. And the gist of it is he met a girl online, of course, came over here, met her, of course. They got married right away because they just knew they loved each other. He went up, bought the land, built the house. Everybody went to the restaurant when he went to the restaurant, yada, yada, yada. And as soon as the last deal went in to the house and everything was done and everybody was fat, dumb, and happy, she decided that she didn't want to live with him anymore, and she split. She went back to Cebu and is living with her ex-boyfriend. Married or not, she don't care. She says, I don't love you. I don't want to be around you. Do what you got to do. I'm going back to my. And now he is coming with his tail between his legs back to America. Got to go back to work, earn all that money that he just blew, I feel impulsively, and have nothing to show for it. So that's I heard that exact same story 2 weeks when I first landed here 7 years ago. Guy sat across from me, told me the exact same story. I met a girl, we did that, and then she told me to leave. I don't think that there's enough videos that guys watch that have heard that. I know this guy's heard the stories. He's not just watching me, he's listening to other people. He's a professional YouTube watcher before he came over here, and figured he had it all figured out and was going to take everybody's suggestions. I hate to use the word advice, but it's just the reality of it all, is that you need to, in my mind, I needed to slow down. I hurried up with the first girl. I said, I'm never going to do that again. And she didn't take me all the way down the rabbit hole. We cut that off quick. Could have gone bad. Have a safety net. As far as the exterior family is concerned, or the outside family is concerned, that is a personal choice. If you feel within your heart that that's something you can and you want to do, why one word would be that the moment they request more or over than what has been agreed upon, learn the word no, and then you'll find out what your true value is. Because when you tell them no, that's when the rubber hits the road and you know exactly where you stand. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.